Good morning, good evening, and good night, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Sly Report. I am your host, Gold D Ranks First Mate of the Gold Fang crew, and today we are coming at you with a Sly Report double edition, because right now we're about to cover One Piece, chapter 1119 and 1120. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So we start this chapter with Kaku freed from his bubble prison, finally. And now he is having a confrontation with Stussy. And he's telling her to go on, get out of here. Nobody wants you here. We don't love you. We don't respect you. We're not friends. So, here's the thing. Kaku is not as bad as Rob Lucci to me, because Kaku genuinely has these moments where he's like truly shows that he still has like at least a piece of his humanity. You know what I'm saying? Rob Lucci, he's just a full-on dog. He's like, hey, tell me where to go, tell me what to do, I'ma do it. But Kaku, he's like, hey man, you know what? I do like you, I do feel for you after hearing your story, hearing this old conversation between you and Edison. It's just like, I know Lucci, and I know Lucci's not going to spare you for this, so it's best if you just go on and get out of here. You know what I'm saying? So, and we can even see on Kaku's face, we don't see his whole face, the top of his face is in shadows, but the frown and the demeanor which he has, it kind of says like, I don't mean this, but I got to do this for your sake. So, that's happening. And that's really emotional. It endears me to Kaku just a little bit, I'm not going to lie. Also, I am worried about Stussy, because now, where is she going to go and what is she going to do? But these are questions that can be answered at a later date or discussed at a later date, because these are not the foremost of issues that we have to deal with in this chapter. So, let us continue. We then cut back to the shores of Egghead Island, where we see Luffy and Bonnie in their Nika forms, and they are just, chilling, having a good time, talking, laughing amongst each other. The Marines that are present, they're looking at Luffy's wanted poster, looking at Luffy, they're like, wow, he's really looking like his wanted poster. What's going on? Like, what's happening? These fodder Marines. Also, we got the Giants over here on this side. They like, Nika, Nika, Nika. They're cheering. They are elated. So, as this is happening, we got St. Mars, who's still on the attack. He pauses for a minute because he's genuinely taken aback at the sight of two Nikas. But, being the smart man that he is, he quickly figures out that what Bonnie is doing is a imitation or a facsimile created through her powers. So, Bonnie is not like a true Nika. She's accessing a future where she is Nika-like, of course, obviously. And this is not out of the realm of what we've seen she could do with her powers. But I have a hard time believing she can replicate the full totality power of Nika. But that's neither here nor there. That's an argument for another time. Right now, right here, we got Mars. He's on the attack, and he is not deterred by the sight of two Nikas. So, Mars attacks. Luffy jumps up and blocks the attack and takes it himself by expanding his body. But while he is doing this, he is telling the others, like, hey, these guys can't be hurt. They can't be crushed or slashed. Like, the best thing we could do right now is just like, you know what? Actually, I'm going to block this attack. Yes, it's going to hurt. But, hey, while I'm doing this, I need you guys back here, referring to Sanji, Frankie, and Bonnie. I need all of you guys to attack me as hard as you can. To which Sanji and Frankie reply. They're like, hey, all right, we're game. Like, let's go. Bonnie's taken aback by this. She's like, what? Attack you? Why? And Sanji explains as he's preparing his attack, like, hey, Bonnie, captain's orders, they're absolute. So we gotta, come on. So Sanji's charging up Ifrit John Hell memories. Frankie's about to hit him with the impactful strong right. And Bonnie's charging up a giant Nika punch. So they all just strike Luffy full force. Full force. And of course, Luffy screams out in pain. And this takes Bonnie by surprise. She's like, why? It hurts? And Luffy's like, of course it hurts. You guys are using haki. And we're going to stick right here for a second because he says, you guys are using haki in the translation that I've read. So I just want to know, and I'm going to say that this is implying that Frankie has some kind of access to haki, but if he's only referring to Sanji and Bonnie, then that's understandable. But saying you guys, while all three of them are attacking, does imply that Frankie Cuddy Flam, that boy, does have haki. So that's neither here nor there. I just wanted to point that out because I know that's going to get glossed over. I know it's going to be talked about in some capacity, but it's not going to be talked about enough. But either way, they're attacking Luffy. So Luffy's screaming out in pain. Bonnie's surprised. While she's screaming out in surprise, like, wow, it hurts, whatever. Sanji responds to this, and he's like, hey, don't worry about it. Keep going. Frankie's like, yeah, don't worry about it. Just crush the life out of him if you can. Just don't let up on this attack. So while they're attacking Luffy, Luffy prepares to use his Gum Booming Dawn Balloon. And when he does this, it takes the combined force of not only him, who's been expanded and sucked St. Mars into his gut, but also the combined force of these three that are attacking him from behind. So with the combined force of them three plus Luffy's own force, he sends St. Mars blasting off like this is Pokemon and they Team Rocket, blasting off way off in the distance. All you see is a little twinkle like, ding, gone. So while all that was happening, Dory and Bragi, they've ordered the crew to put out the fires. They're trying to get ready to get out of here. So Luffy has launched St. Mars away. They're getting ready to get out of here. Dory and Bragi, their men are putting out the fires on the ship. They're getting ready to get out of here too. Everybody's getting ready. But as they're celebrating the launch away of St. Mars, Luffy comes down and he asks Sanji, like, hey, where are the others? And Sanji's like, well, they were supposed to meet us down here, but something's delaying them. They're not here yet. I'm not sure. So this is where we're going to cut this part off right now, because next we're going to go on to the next part of this chapter and we're going to talk about that. So stick with us. We'll be right back. Don't go nowhere. Real quick before we move on, I just want to say also that because they're wondering what's going on with the team up top in the Labo phase, Atlas volunteers herself to go up there and to check. But inwardly to herself, she's thinking like, okay, York is monitoring us. Me and Lilith are going to be ... And that thought is cut off for right now. But I had to mention that because that's going to be important later. But now we're going to continue. So as all that is going on, we cut down to the Iron Giant that is now under the waters, but still intact, still functional. And inside of that Iron Giant, the Din Din Mushi that is broadcasting Vegapunk's message is regaining consciousness, and so the message has started up again. And we see Whole Cake Island. We see Katakuri and a couple of his siblings, and they're reacting to the message starting back up. We see Vivian Morgans. They're reacting to the message starting back up. You know what I'm saying? We also see some random citizens on another island. They're also reacting to the message coming back up. Maybe wondering if there was a signal issue or if something might have happened. But either way, the message is not over, and these people are not yet satisfied with what they have been told. They want to know more. They want to know more of the truth. So, while all that is going on, we cut back over to the shores of Egghead, where CP agents are now falling from the sky. Falling from the sky as York has told the Gorosei, hey, look, man, the message started back up. You guys got to actually destroy the whole robot. So, Jupiter is now expelling these guys from him within himself. All the CP agents that fell when Nasujiro cut the Labo phase, all of them are falling. Jupiter has caught them. He swallowed them up with his big suck, and the Seraphim as well. And now he's spewing them back out and launching them onto the ships over on the sea, the Marine ships. So the Marines are catching them. They're catching the Seraphim. But while this is going on, Luffy is just laughing and having a good time talking to, what I believe is Brogy, about what's happening over here. He's like, wow, that's crazy. And Brogy's like, yeah, but, you know, it's going to be coming for us next. We got to hurry up and get some distance. Just as he says that, Jupiter glares over at them, then turns his giant sandworm head and starts to give them the big suck. So, he's pulling the ships back toward the shore, and just as he's doing this, Luffy jumps back towards land and makes a solid connection with his face from his fist, stopping the suction and allowing the allies to escape once again, or give them the opportunity to escape once again. But while this is happening, while the Giants are cheering for Luffy / Nika, as we cut to a young doll saying, "Wow, a giant white monster! It's raining CP agents. Even dreams aren't this wild." As all this is happening, in the background we see Saint Workery running up, talking about some, alright, nah, we can't have none of this. None of this. So, hold on, let me just consult the notes real quick because I don't want to miss anything. So yes, as Luffy is holding Jupiter off, Workery comes crashing in, charging past Luffy, charging up the back of what's it called? Not charging up the back, but charging up behind and beside and past Jupiter and Luffy. Luffy, he's like, oh my god, he's warning the guy. He's like, hey, he's coming for you guys. I kind of got my hand full with this one, so y'all have to do something. But nobody can really do anything. But also Luffy says, hey, his skin is tough, so be careful. But nobody can really do anything at this moment. Bonnie has reverted to her child self because, as she has said herself and stated, being free is very tiring. So this is more like a little one-shot deal for her. She can do it, but she can't do it for long. So she's wiped out. Everybody's on deck. They're panicking. But just then, in the midst of their panic, as Workery jumps from the island, getting ready to crash into the boat, we see, and Luffy notices, and he hears the Iron Giant rising up from the ocean. He pops out of the ocean. The Iron Giant, his name is Emmis, because we see and hear a conversation. The Iron Giant thinking to himself of a conversation he had with the original Joy Boy as he bounds out of the water and punches Workery square in the face, breaking up one of his tusks. That this is the time to strike. This is the time to fight back. But we don't know exactly everything that was said between the original Joy Boy and Emmis the Iron Giant. But we do know that Emmis has a hell of a cross. So with that, we are done with chapter 11:19, and we will be moving on to chapter 11:20. So stick with us because we are not yet done here. Now, we are going to start chapter 11:20. So, where else better to start than the beginning, where we start with a flashback to 26 years ago to Punk Hazard, where we see Clover and Vegapunk having a conversation, where Clover is trying to convince Vegapunk to help him study into the Void Century, to which Vegapunk is mostly rejecting his ideas, giving him sound, logical answers as to why he's not going to help him, but also hearing him out. To which Clover responds and says, "Hey man, I'm gonna tell you something. There was a man I once knew who died simply for saying that he had a D in his name. How is that right? How is that justice? The only reason I lived that day is because I lied about my name. I watched my older brother die for the name he carried, and I lied just to save myself. And now I'm determined to understand why that is." Yes, ladies and gentlemen, Clover is a D. We have a new D-Clan member and also a new D-Clan family. But ultimately, Vegapunk still disagrees with what Clover is doing, and he says, "I can't help you, but I will do you this favor and act like I didn't hear what you just said, as I work for the government." So, Clover then, as Vegapunk is walking away from him, he vows to find out and piece together the pieces of the puzzle that is the past. So, we then cut to 22 years ago from present day, right after the O'Hara incident, as news is spreading around and it gets to Punk Hazard, where Vegapunk and Caesar hear the news. And Caesar, he's being scum as usual. He's celebrating this. He's like, "Oh, I'm so, like, they should have knew better. Like, this will teach them." And Vegapunk, he just walks off by himself. He's thinking to himself. He's solemn because he's like, "Dang, this is what the road you walked led you to, Clover. This is what happens when you do what you decide to do, and then you didn't even live to tell anybody about what it is. Like, now that you're dead, what good was saving your knowledge? Was the knowledge that you gained really worth your life?" And we end up with him on O'Hara shortly before Dragon arrives, before Vegapunk has resolved himself. Well, I think this is the catalyst to Vegapunk resolving himself to study and finish what O'Hara started. So, as we then leave there, we cut back to the present, where Vegapunk's message continues, and he talks, starting by recounting the words that Clover had once said to him. He starts off, and I'm going to read this verbatim from my notes because I put it down here. He starts off by saying, "Someone once told me that the voices of the past call out to you. History is written by the victors, and the words of the vanquished are usually cast into a deep, dark ocean. That being said, their truth can still come to light if the oppressed carry it on their backs and endure." And while he is saying this, we see brief flashes of different places. We see Zeth at the Boyardier. We see Tequila Wolf. We see Robin. Finally, we end on the last brief flash we see is Robin, and she has her hand over her face. She looks like she's remembering the people that was her people, the people of O'Hara, the people that she lost. So, as that's happening, we then cut back over to the Labo Phase team, where Zoro is yelling for them to, "Hey, let's go!" And Lilith responds by saying, "Yeah, I know we need to go, but we can't right now." And they're going back and forth, and Lilith explaining to Zoro, like, "Hey, if we leave right now, there's still a chance the guy that's attacking us, Nasujiro, he might attack us in the air. And if he attacks us in the air, then we're definitely not going to make it. So, as she is explaining this, Nasujiro is back on the attack. He was thrown back in his clash with Zoro, or whatever happened off screen with Zoro. We did see them clash once, but I doubt that was the same clash that knocked him back so far. But that's neither here nor there. What we do know is he's on the way back to attack. And as he is on the way back to attack, Atlas suddenly appears from behind Lilith and knocks her clean out. After knocking her out, Atlas then disables her connection to Punk Records. So now York thinks that only her and Atlas are left. And after doing this, Atlas turns to the crew. She asks them to take care of Lilith and that she is going to make sure that they make it out in one piece. And after saying this, she blasts off towards Nasujiro to intercept him. And that's where we're going to leave this part right now, and then we're going to come back and give you the rest. But stay tuned, we'll be right back. So as Atlas is going off to intercept Nasujiro, Jinbei takes the helm and he's like, hey, let's get ready to go. We would regret it if we wasted this chance. To which, while that is happening, Zoro is telling Brook, hey, hit that Kuda burst, we getting out of here. So as Brook is activating the Kuda burst and they're getting ready to blast off, Nasujiro is intercepted by Atlas, who he cuts one of her arms off, but Atlas perseveres, grabs him with her other arm, and blasts them out of the trajectory of the ship so that the ship can take off with the Kuda burst. Crazy. As this is happening, Vegapunk's message is still going on, by the way. At this point, he's just saying that he hopes the message gets to you safely and that people are going to hear and receive it. He also says that he wishes he had more time to complete the message. But we're going to keep going from here. I know this was a little short update from the last part, but we had to make sure we're going in order. But now we shall continue. As this is happening, we cut back to the shore where everybody is genuinely shocked. The Marines more so from a terrified perspective, Luffy and the gang more so from an excited perspective about the Iron Giant. Ooh, excuse me. So, Emmet the Iron Giant begins to talk to Luffy, calling him Joy Boy, saying that he's here to back him up and he's glad he could fight with him again and that he's going to defend him and protect him from danger. As he's talking to Luffy, he's facing down Jupiter and Warcurry, and they're talking about how they got to pound these guys into dust, how they got to get rid of them. And Jupiter remarks that, yeah, you know, Vegapunk's message just seems to be almost over. So Dory and Bragi, they're ready to go, and they're getting ready to go, they're like, hey, let's go. But then as they're doing that, they ask Luffy, hey, is the robot like your friend or something? Like, what's going on with that? To which Luffy replies, well, no, he's not really a friend, but he showed up talking about some guy called Joy Boy saying he was going to protect him and such, but, you know, whatever. What even is that? So, Dory and Bragi, they clearly ignore the first part of that question and focus on the more important thing in their mind, which is the fact that the Iron Giant talked, because they didn't hear anything. So, and this is just me, I'm not saying this is what is being said outright in the story, though I feel like this is what it is alluding to. Luffy's able to hear the Iron Giant talk because of the voice of all things and being able to hear the voice of all things. So, that's what my theory is on that. But I'm not going to throw too many theories at you. I'm just telling you the facts of what happened. So, while they're doing that, we then see a young Bluegrass ordering her men to attack. And they continue to, fire on the Giants. And while this is going on, VP is still talking, Vegapunk. He's still giving context to the message, saying how he believes that people should be able to learn and dissect history so that they can move forward in a better fashion. But under this current regime, that's not going to happen. So, as that is happening, we then see that Jupiter is preparing to attack. And as he is preparing to attack, the Iron Giant is preparing to intercept him with some kind of attack of his own. To which all the guys are excited once again, especially because we only see Frankie and Sanji reaction, but they're super excited. They're like, hey, yo, what attack is this man about to use? So Jupiter's coming into attack. Emmett, the Iron Giant, he's about to fire off whatever attack he's about to fire off. But then, unfortunately, it does not work because so much time has passed. I don't believe the weapons are operational, and that's what Frankie says. But Emmett catches Jupiter with his remaining arm because during that attack, he ends up losing an arm to Jupiter. So, while he's holding back Jupiter, Saturn rushes in and he jumps off the back of Jupiter, launching himself at the ship of the Giants and landing on it. As he does this, he tells Jupiter to crush the Iron Giant and by extension the Den Den Mushi because they have to end that message. Then he says to everybody aboard the ship that he is not going to let them escape. But then he specifically targets and looks at Bonnie and Kuma. So this man, he's salivating to kill this family. He got a hate boner for this family, and it is ridiculous. So, as this is happening, Sanji looks up and he sees the Sunny, and then we cut to the perspective of the Sunny, and Zoro is telling everybody to hold on tight because they're going down. And Nami questions if they're even going to make it. We cut from that over to Atlas, who is up in the sky with Nasujiro, and Nasujiro is asking Atlas if she means to sacrifice herself. To which Atlas surprised, nah, I'm just gonna lend a hand. And then blows herself up. The explosion, the resulting explosion, gives enough force to push the Sunny to where it needs to go. They're gonna make it. Everybody on the ship, they're like, oh, we're gonna make it. Especially Usopp and Chopper, because we see their reactions. They're like, we only made it thanks to you, Atlas. We'll never forget you. But yes, it looks like the Sunny is going to make it. At this point, York is celebrating being the only Vegapunk left. The elders, they're like, yeah, but nah, because we still got to end this message once for all. So now they all are surrounding Emmett, the Iron Giant, and Emmett is thinking to himself like, this must be the time you were referring to, speaking of Joy Boy. But we don't get any more of that. But what we do get is the final part of the message so far that we've gotten for this chapter. And the most important piece is Vegapunk reveals Gold D. Rogers' real name to the world. Because you gotta remember, we know it's Gold D. Roger. Luffy them know it's Gold D. Roger. But the general public do not know this man as Gold D. Roger. Remember, when the government executed him, his name was Gold Roger. So, I know people don't think this is a big revelation because outside of the story, we've been knew that Roger was a D, but it's important because we now know that this man, well, not we, but now the world knows, the world knows, the general public of One Piece knows that Roger was a D. And this is where the chapter ends. So, I know we covered a lot of ground. We did that. It was a lot of things going on, a lot of action happening in these chapters, but still a lot of things that need to be spoken on and talked about and attention needs to be brought to. But thank you again for joining us on the Sly Report. Once again, we will be back next week or next chapter with another Sly Report. Don't forget to like, comment, share, subscribe, Hit me up on Twitter, Instagram, wherever. But make sure you hit me up, and I'll see you next time.